On today's episode, Cam Johnson making a big impression with the Nuggets so far in training camp and preseason. We've got a lot to talk about. Plus, Christian Braun, Peyton Watson, they're going to sign those extensions. We got a report today. We're going to talk about it next here on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for tuning in today's episode, folks. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 back in bonus bets if your bet wins, to use across the app. Head over to FanDuel.com to get started. My name is Ryan Blackburn, host here at Locked On Nuggets over at Mile High Sports as well. He is Swipa of the Swipa. Actually, you rebranded for, it's just Swipa now on the YouTube side of things, right?
Well, it's Swipa Cam, but everybody calls it.
It is still Swipa Cam? I know you changed. There was some name that changed on that.
That's my government name. Let's just shorten it.
Yeah, hey, it's all good, but we got stay close to the vest here. We got Swipa. He's also doing Locked On NBA. Is it Locked On NFL now?
Locked On NFL Game Night, the Press Box football show every Wednesday at 8:30, every Sunday at 11 a.m. Yeah, you know what I mean? We're multifaceted.
Man is staying busy.
Just wait until the NHL show drops.
Swipe and I are facing each other in fantasy football this week. There will be bragging rights. So you're going to want to tune into the next week's episodes. There will be plenty of content and plenty of trash talk, no matter what happens. But Swipe on today's episode, we're going to start off with this. Cam Johnson, I just got back from practice an hour ago or so, and holy cow, the momentum behind him, the momentum behind sort of the starting conversation and what the starters are looking like right now, it is great. And a lot of the reason for that is Cam Johnson is taking strides. Do you have any interest in hearing about some of the practice quotes that I got?
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say you should lead our day off. I don't want to talk at all.
Perfect. Adelman spoke and kind of, it was a little bit more tepid in terms of his actual praise, of saying it's all just really new for Cam. He's kind of playing a different style in Brooklyn, very execution-based style in Phoenix, and this just kind of somewhere in the middle, the style in Denver. It's kind of like a hybrid of those two things, just him getting used to the space, seeing the feel, and he took strides. Bruce Brown was a little bit more vociferous in his praise. Cam made everything today. God damn, blue team kicked our ass because Cam was making every shot. Jamal was going insane. So yeah, Cam's coming along. And then Nikola Jokic, I think he's thinking a little bit too much, just trying to fit in. I told him, don't try to fit in. You're a really important part of this offense. Just play your game and be aggressive in the moment and in the role you've been given. And he's been given a pretty big role. The expectations for Cam Johnson are very high. Just your general takeaway from the way that the Nuggets are talking about Cam Johnson and the way that they are really complimentary with him at this point.
I think some of this is Cam is almost 30. Did he just turn 30?
Yeah, he's, I think, in the 29-30 range, yeah.
And he's been in the league a long time. He's played on some really good teams with Phoenix. He's been an important cog in what they're doing with the Brooklyn Nets. Coaches seem to like him a lot. The players that he's played with have seemed to like him. He's a very intellectual person. And, sometimes we can overstate intellectualism because Jokic is very intellectual, Russell Westbrook very intellectual, like Peyton Watson very intellectual, just in different ways. Cam is just, he thinks very distinctly about basketball, and he has a way of processing what happens to him and his experience on the basketball court in ways that I think is just different than other players. And so I think he's been a very popular podcast player because he seems very open to talk about the sport. And on top of that, he seems to have a level of understanding of his role within the NBA and on a team and in a scheme. And even, when I was listening to some of the footage out of practice for the last few days, but today, Cam just seems to have an understanding that there is an expectation from him that there are things he is going to be asked to do this year, and he's willing and able to do them. And I love that the players have responded so positively to Cam. Because, Ryan, sometimes if a new player comes into a building, especially if a team has been together for a while, Aaron Gordon, 2021, March 25th, Jamal Murray, 2016, Jokic, 2014, but 2015, they have been here for a minute. Like they've now raised families here. They're grown men here. Like they've grown up in the NBA. They've won championships. So you can understand it might be a little pressure in other situations to be able to step in as a brand new player. And you replace somebody that's been here since 2018. But the team has just really responded well to Cam, and I think he's responded well in kind to wanting to be a part of a larger unit. And the way that he is thinking about himself and Jokic and Murray and Gordon and everybody else and the way they're approaching him, honestly, it just couldn't have gone better so far.
Yeah, it's just pretty clear based off of the way that he's interacting, the way, like, we talked to him yesterday and he said a lot of the same things, that he's just trying to get on the same page with everybody. It's a process, but he's looking forward to it. He's saying all the right things. He's being a professional. He's talking about all of the different nuances that there are still to learn, and various things that he's very excited about. You mentioned the replacing of somebody. It is one thing that I think has gone kind of underrated. When you replace somebody that's been on the roster for 7 years, in order, Mike, whether people, like, I know fans have a little bit of a shorter leash, obviously, than some of the people in the building do. Like, they all trusted him. They all, like, despite the fact that, like, it was sort of up and down at various points, like, they had grown accustomed to Michael Porter's play style, to Michael Porter's disposition, the way that he had responded. Like, he was always trying to stay available and doing everything that he could to be a positive impact player on the court. And so whenever you kind of remove that, the next guy has to step in and be responsible and be somebody that can be trusted as soon as possible, because that can be, like, it can go a variety of different ways. You never want to assume that things are going to be good and easy. But with Cam Johnson, it has made a lot of sense. His play style is similar, although different in, I think, the right ways from what we're seeing from Michael Porter. And I think the Nuggets have been open to that, and they want to see what he can do. They want to see him kind of open up his game a little bit and really, like, it's not just about shooting. It's about being more responsible with the ball in your hands and really trying to take the bull by the horns a little bit. And that helps everybody else in turn.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've talked to Matt about this a little bit the other day. I think Cam and his ability to be a tertiary ball handler, to be an additional playmaker for this team, it's going to mean a lot. And even if it just makes one or two possessions that much easier, but also, too, not just with Jokic, Cam is going to, I think, really raise the floor of the non-Jokic minutes and the bench in particular. I've talked about this several times now, but again, that 42-game stretch for Cam Johnson before he kind of had that little nagging injury that changed the year, and before he really, let's be honest, they sat him down because they were just winning too many games with the Nets. Yeah. 19 points a game on the 65 true shooting, and he was just going wild, Ryan. And one of the things I'm so excited about, I want to see what him and Jonas do. It's a two-man game. I want to see what him and Jonas do is, like, can you raise the floor of the non-Jokic minutes, and then that way you can really do what you've already done with the Pelicans, with the Kings, and do what you've already done with the Nets. Can you just go be, like, really good NBA players all on your own with some defenders around you, and that way y'all can just go hunt and try to see if you can really make something out of these minutes. So Cam is going to offer a lot of just unique skill sets, and, again, the way he thinks, smart on-time play, especially defensively. And me and Matt, we disagree a little bit with how good Cam Johnson is defensively. I actually think he's, like, based on everything I've done, he's a straight positive, and there's a lot of stuff that he does really well. He's not like, Andrew Nembhard or Amin Thompson, Asar Thompson, or anything like that, but, he's somebody who can get in your vest a little bit, and I think over time, the more he gets used to playing Denver's scheme, the better defender he'll be, and I think that's when they really will start to take off.
It's exciting to think about the variability that Denver has and sort of the malleability that you're going to get from a guy like Cam Johnson. I think he's one of those guys that you just need to have on your team in order to be able to meet different questions and challenges that you're going to see throughout the year. And he can do in a variety of different ways. I also asked about the rotation to David Adelman and talking about, like, hey, because he was propping up the starting unit, how good they looked and how awesome they were. And I wanted to ask a little bit about the balance between overutilizing that starting unit versus coming up with new solutions and new answers that he liked from different groups. And he said, yes, it's obviously going to be something that they work on. It's going to be something that he has to push towards. But kind of balancing that out with the idea that Cam needs to develop that chemistry with the starters specifically, with that group that's going to play the most amount of time together, not just in the regular season, but in the playoffs too. So it wouldn't surprise me, Swipa, if he played less with the bench than you would expect, less with the bench than you would hope for, despite the fact that he has that skill set. At least at the outset, I think his minutes are just going to be tied to Jokic almost exclusively.
Sure, makes sense.
All right, well, exciting things for Cam Johnson. We're looking forward to that. On the other side, we are going to discuss Christian Braun, Peyton Watson, rookie extensions. We got a report from Jake Fisher that we're going to discuss here on Locked On Nuggets. All right, this podcast, as you know, it's brought to you by PrizePicks. Every day we make decisions, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Playing PrizePicks is so much fun, a simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projections. It's like Josh Allen passing yards or Saquon Barkley rushing for a touchdown, and you're in the game. I love how quick it is. You can make your lineups in just under a minute. It's so much optionality, so easy to pick and choose different things. It's also fun to follow other players in the app and copy their lineups with just one click. Download the PrizePicks apps today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. All right, we are back. Locked On Nuggets, thank you so much for tuning into the show. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, folks. Would really, really appreciate it. Also, those 5-star reviews, we're getting ready. We're almost back into the season. Let us know what you like about the show. Let us know what you think we could do better. We're very excited for the season to start. Let's make it a great one here at Locked On Nuggets. All right, Swipa. There was a report that came out earlier today from Jake Fisher, who is at the Stein line. He is on the Mark Stein Substack that he's been doing for the better part of the last year, I believe. And those guys are extremely plugged in. I trust their reporting. And one of the things that was said earlier today from Jake Fisher was about the Christian Braun and Peyton Watson extension talks. Peyton Watson didn't seem like it was likely that they could get to an extension. Christian Braun said that it was possible that the number that they were going to get to was $25 million annually at minimum, that it could be even higher than that. But that was kind of the low end of the baseline, the low end of the expectation, according to Jake Fisher's sources. Your thoughts on both of those reports? We could focus on Christian Braun or Peyton Watson, whichever one you want.
Well, I think the Christian one is the most pressing matter, and so I think that is worth talking about. You know, you and I have had many conversations about what exactly that number is going to look like for Christian. You know, I've told you that ideally, you know, anywhere between around, you know, I'd say 22 is about the number that I felt most comfortable with, given his role, what the team needs. But you also have shared with me percentages. I'm sure you can share them now on what $30 million would look like in terms of the percentage of the cap that would be going forward. As the cap is rising, that money is going to be very reflective of what a, you know, $22 million a year contract would look like now. So I think for me, if the Nuggets can save money, great. But I'm also an extremely pro player, so make as much money as you possibly can. And I think Christian, so Christian took a significant leap, y'all. Like, I don't think from a historical standpoint, people understand going from where Christian was in year 2 to where he was in year 3. That doesn't happen often. And when players typically make this leap, Ryan, just from a historical standpoint, from 7 to 15, shooting efficiency, the role increases to that degree. Those are like players that become all-stars that typically make leaps like that. So like, this is not like a small thing. So Christian, I want to be fair. Maybe I'm not giving him enough credit. Maybe there is a reality where Christian's much better than just simply being like a really good role player. If 2 years from now, Christian has made another significant leap like he made this year, okay, well, the next leap up for Christian is like borderline all-star level player. Because if the self-creation comes, if the three-point increase comes, and then the defense also gets even better, well, yeah, then you're moving into a tier of player that you just don't really find. I mean, honestly, in some way like Jalen Suggs. So I think that if they can find a deal lower than 30, lower than 28, I'm fine. But based on some of the stuff you're about to share with us now, 28, 30 is not that crazy.
Yeah. Okay. So sorry if this is kind of a weird. Let's do this one. This one feels a little bit better. So Christian in his actually that's actually kind of cutting things off. I wanted to compare a few different numbers. I'm going to share these numbers in a short later today that I edited up and post. But basically, the KCP extension that the Nuggets got him for when they signed, it's a 2-year, $30 million contract back before they won the championship. It was about 2 years, $30 million. It was 11% of the cap. And then rightly, KCP and the Nuggets won a championship. KCP wanted a larger number. And so KCP declined the second year of that extension. He wanted a little bit more money. He got more money from Orlando. And that was 15.6% of the cap in the 2024-25 season. So that's the number that people should be looking at, 15.6%. Now, the starting salary cap in that year was $140 million. It's expected that the starting number is going to be $165.5 million when Christian Braun's extension actually kicks in. So that's something that I think a lot of people need to fully internalize with these particular discussions about Christian, is that the number that you're going to get is higher from a millions per year kind of perspective. But in terms of how affordable it is compared to previous years, the Nuggets said no to a 15.6% of the cap deal from that KCP got with Orlando. That same number is about 4 years, $102 million, 4 years, $103 million, somewhere in that general range. If you get Christian at $25 million a year, it's actually not that bad. And I think that Christian's a better player now than KCP was then. So there's at least the argument that this should be something that you're more than willing to do. So I'm curious kind of to get your thoughts of like, okay, Denver could go a little bit under that number. They could go like around $25 million a year. I think in all likelihood, this ends with a 5-year, $125 million contract, which is, again, $25 million a year. You lock in Christian for 5 years. You get some of that long-term kind of like just in case he continues to get better, then you're locking him in for a long time. And that number is actually staying flat while the salary cap continues to increase in those future seasons. So that to me makes the most sense.
Christian better than Cam Johnson last year?
No. I think that Cam would probably get more money.
Is Christian better?
My perspective is that the Nuggets just have to be willing to pay the second apron.
Yeah, I'm trying to paint a picture here. Is Christian going to be better than Cam this year?
Probably not, but there's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, really on Denver if he is. Right, obviously. But that's where we're running into because, again, Cam Johnson's extension eligible. Mm-hmm. So then the question becomes, are they going to be paying two separate $25 million contracts, which, to be fair, for Christian and Cam, that's not like crazy. $50 million between the two of them is not nuts.
Sure.
So I think they just have to remember, Aaron Gordon getting 30, Jamal's getting 52, Jokic is getting 60 something, whatever. And then he's going to get another one next year for 293 for 4 years. I think for them, this will be the core they have for the next 2 or 3 years, more than likely. They can flip them if they want, obviously. But it's just a matter of making sure you're able to build out the rest of the roster, and especially that bench, because you're going to have to, or we're just going to be paying like veteran minimums because obviously Bruce Brown, Jonas, Peyton Watson's up next year, and then Julian Strawther, and then you're getting into like obviously Zeke Naji's still in the books, which is probably the biggest thing that needs to happen. Find a way to get off Zeke Naji because that 7.4, I think the number is like it's kind of eating into your cap space all the way around.
And then the Jonas the Jonas team option will probably get declined as a result.
Yeah, I had a feeling that they kind of had that already in place, that they weren't paying him $10 million back-to-back years, and Jonas can go to Greece and do what you need to do. But yeah, it's just about finding like what's the best options. How do you build the best roster possible? So I think Cam deserved it. Christian deserves it, but it's just a matter of like, how do you actually work around the cap restraints you're going to have after that?
It's tough. There are some ways that they could do it. Like there's a possibility that Aaron Gordon is the guy that's kind of the fall guy in that situation next. You hope that the only reason that were to happen was because other guys are stepping up to the point that it makes sense to do so. Hopefully this is not a situation where you're actually actively working against your championship interests to try to satisfy the financial constraints. But that's the unfortunate reality about the modern kind of day that we're in with these salary cap restraints. Like this is a factor that everybody has to deal with, not just the Nuggets. And you're going to keep seeing teams duck that second apron like the plague.
And also, people are saying the Nuggets contracts are bad. They're not. The only bad contract is Zeke. Everyone else is making money. Jonas is last year, I believe, top 30 center in the league. $10 million for Jonas Valanciunas is nothing. Like, and then he's very, very usable as a trade piece. Obviously, he's been traded twice in the last year. Like, he obviously has value. Jamal Murray is what you see in Jamal, that's a $50 million a year player. That's what they are in the league. You don't find guards like that in the league. Cam is making 21. Christian Braun, he might be making 18 to 30. We don't know what that number is going to be, or 22 to 30, whatever it is. That's worth that kind of player in this league. And then you look at Aaron Gordon, he just, helped you win multiple playoff series almost. Like, that's a $30 million a year player. Like, the Nuggets, the only major contract they have is Jokic, honestly. Like,
well, to me, I'll push back on the Jamal thing a little bit. If he plays at the level that we think he can play this year, then that is absolutely worth it. Last year, it wasn't worth it, I don't think.
Well, I disagree completely. Jamal was a 23-7 player after the first 15 games of the year. So I think and then granted, we have to always make room for injuries. Jamal was injured, so then once he overcame the injuries, he became like what he normally is. But I think again, you're not going to find 21 and 6 and 5 on what was he 46, 40 or 38 last year. Whatever. 87, like it's just you don't find those players. You know what I mean? Like, and De'Aaron Fox just got to create the extension. Do you think De'Aaron Fox is worth that money?
No, no, I don't. Last thing for you is Peyton Watson out of luck? Like, is the money just going to run out for him if they're unwilling to pay the second apron?
No, it's not out of luck. Peyton has to. If I'm Peyton, I would rather not make money right now because Peyton has a chance to make himself Christian Braun valuable this year. He has a chance to do that. And if you do that, you ain't got to worry about it, my dog. You getting traded to a crazy situation, and they're going to build around you and give you everything that you want. If Peyton Watson comes out this year and he's legitimately like in conversation with Christian Braun for which one is better, I mean, then everything is out of the window. Like, you're about to make $30 million a year, $25 million a year. You just got to go out and do it. So if anything, Peyton, you can make $11 million right now, or you can go wait next year and maybe you can get 30. But I would just be willing to bet on myself if I was him.
I think he is willing to bet on himself. I think he knows that his future earnings are going to be just fine if he continues to do the work that he's supposed to do. So we'll see what happens. But tell you what, let's take one more break. When we come back, we are going to discuss final steps for the Denver Nuggets preseason over this next week. We'll be right back here on Locked On Nuggets. All right. Let's talk about FanDuel, folks. The NFL season, it is here. It has been here, and FanDuel has an offer that you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and they get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Love putting together some parlays. Love putting together weekly parlays for the upcoming week. Facing off against Swipa this week, so there will be some opportunities to hedge emotionally against the things that I want to do. So it's very exciting to have that in the wheelhouse for this upcoming season. Make sure that if you're watching football, it gets even more exciting, that you get a little something riding on the action. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. We'll be right back here on Locked On Nuggets. All right, back at it. Final segment, Locked On Nuggets. Oh, we've got one more that we're doing. We've got one more ad that I'm actually going to go back to. Actually, no, we'll skip it. No, we're gonna go back to it here real quick. We're also brought to you by Quo. One of the tools that helps make a huge difference for business owners is Quo, formerly OpenPhone. It's the same business phone system you've heard me talk about before, just with a new name. And here's why it matters. Every missed call is money left on the table. When every customer conversation counts, you need a phone system to get you connected 24/7. Quo is the number one business phone system that streamlines customer communications. It works right through the app on your phone or computer, so no more carrying two phones or relying on a landline. I've loved using Quo, formerly known as OpenPhone, as you guys know. Lets your team share a number and collaborate on calls and texts, just like a shared inbox, so no customer is ever left hanging at all. See why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly OpenPhone. Get started free and get 20% off on your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedonnba. That's QUO.com/lockedonnba. And you get your existing numbers with another service. Quo will port them over for no extra charge. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. All right, let's get back into it. Sorry, folks. Totally screwed that up. That is my fault, folks.
I let Ryan host one time, and then here we go, just bumping all into the.
I'm tired, man.
It's
been a long week. I'm.
Ryan, let me ask you a question to get this show back on track real quick. Okay. So these are the guards and their annual extensions right now, like the money they're making. So you have James Harden, who's 80 years old, obviously. Kyrie Irving, who's almost 80 years old in NBA years. Kyrie's making 39. James is making 39. But then you get LaMelo Ball making about 40. Tyrese Maxey making 40. Zach LaVine 43. Luka 43. But obviously the situation with the Supermax stuff, he's getting another deal. And then he has another one that's making 53 on this next one. And then you get, again, that's not the same thing because he got traded, can't get Supermax anymore, so this is what he's stuck with. Donovan Mitchell making 50, Paul George making 50, Cade Cunningham making 53, De'Aaron Fox making 55. Do you think that's not where like Jamal Murray in terms of like his skill set, like that's typically where the pay scale will go?
I mean, I think that's like you said, a whole bunch of numbers in the 40s.
Well, those are the older players. They're in the 30s that are making.
Yeah, but even LaMelo I know that he's
making 40.
Yeah, so like 40 million, and like Jamal's going to make 52.
That's a rookie extension though for LaMelo at the time. They didn't have any more money they can give him than that. It's
so like again, that's the rookie extension versus the veteran extension.
Right.
You're right that like guys like De'Aaron Fox, I think De'Aaron's probably the best comp for him. Both of those guys got supermaxes or pretty close to it. So that's just probably the going rate, and that's I think there were a lot of criticisms for both deals, and I think rightfully so. Now you can, if you win a championship, then who cares? Like Denver now, like with this upcoming deal, like if they win a championship, at least one over the course of the next 4 seasons for Jamal, then like it's probably.
Do you think in deals with a player as ingrained as Jamal in Denver, it's worth haggling? And I mean haggling as in bartering over. Hey Jamal, we can pay you 52, but we're going to pay you 48. Do you think that $4 million difference is enough of the worth of conversation?
I don't know. We're having conversations right now about whether Denver can afford Peyton Watson and whether they can afford to pay Christian Brown the money that he's probably going to get on the open market. And like, can they extend Cam Johnson? Can they keep him around long term? Is like part of that reason. They can, but like, are they unwilling to? And if they showed an unwillingness to, like, are they going to ever be able to build the best possible team because of their own financial constraints, because they've already locked in their 2 top players for $110 million a season? I don't know the answer. I don't know what the right answer is there. Like, I think that Denver should just, like, as somebody who has a vested interest in how the Nuggets do, I think they should just pay what they need to pay in order to get as many players.
Rivera asking, how about 52? You used to pay him 54. I'm like, well, that's the thing. When you get in these meetings, like, you have to then talk to someone you've been around, like say, hey, we don't think you're 52, whatever, but 44 number, like, cause at that point you got to figure out like how much is worth putting off the player, that is you need in order to have this. Like Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks are going through this right now. And, they're basically making Trey go prove it to like boom, boom, boom. But the difference is, Rivera, the $8 million you're talking about, that's Zeke Najee's contract. Zeke Najee is the difference between that 52 to 44. If Zeke's not here, they could even have retained KCP and stayed under the second apron. So, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's multiple, like, you have to, in this market, you have to be almost perfect with how you're allotting your money. That's kind of where the NBA is right now.
Whoever just piped in and said that Cam is not worth a first-round pick, I disagree. You actually want Andrew Wiggins more than Cam Johnson, then you're barking. Okay, final question here before we get out of here. Any other things that you want to see from the Nuggets in their final 3 preseason games? Like what's the list for you of things you really want to see to make sure that the Nuggets are ready for the regular season?
One game of defense, maybe. They did in the first half versus the Raptors. Just half of defense, a half of effort, a half of going out. This next game, they'll probably play the starters for 3 quarters, maybe. That's it. Like, I really don't. Everyone looks great. Everyone that's supposed to look great looks great right now. Everyone.
Yeah. So
it's just a matter of like, hey, are you going to commit to this defense scheme? But it's also preseason. Who cares? Like Jokic is shooting 90% from the field. Okay, you know what I mean? Like, now I would love this. This is the realistic part, right?
Whoa.
Jokic is shooting 86.7% from the free throw line. Ryan, remember when he used to be that kind of free throw shooter back in the day where he was shooting 86%?
I'm waiting for it to drop back down to 80.
Drop back down to 80.
He was at 80 last year.
Well, I'm waiting for it to drop back up.
I mean, would be great, right?
I mean, it's been at the 80, 78. Yo, stop being lazy. Like, get your free throw percentage up. If that's what I want. If he shoot 86% from the line on 6 attempts a game this year, and some of these games you can get 18, 20. Woo! Agenda for Ryan Blackburn. 44% 3-point percentage and an 86% free throw percentage. Woo!
It'd be sick.
71 true shooting.
It's just hard for me to foresee him actually doing that. Like, he's done it before, which is insane, but like for him to do it again would be ridiculous. It would. Like, if he could get back up to that would be sick. I do think that offense will just be very easy for him this year. That
fourth quarter exciting. Free throws his only weakness as an offensive player.
Yeah. Yeah. At this point, I think the one thing that would be nice to see him bounce back is that finishing at the rim. There were so many bodies that were always around him last year that I wonder if that had an impact, but would love to see him finish at the rim in a very effective and efficient way. Hard to do that when you're being surrounded by 3 people at the same time, but he shouldn't have to force it as often, right?
Well, if Aaron Gordon's healthy, that changes everything. That's really where it is.
Yeah.
Somebody said it's the wrist. Cody, it is not the wrist. He shot great everywhere else. Literally, his shot chart, if you go to last year, his shot chart, green. Like, I'm talking about deep green, emerald green everywhere.
I want to see, before we get out of here, I want to see what Denver can do with some of their blended lineups. Like, I want to see what Jamal looks like with Jonas Valanciunas. I want to see what Nikola looks like when he's feeding Tim Hardaway Jr. Bruce Brown, how's he playing with Jokic instead of Jamal, things like that. And just kind of everything in between. Let's see DeRon Holmes a little bit more, and before he gets kind of set down to Grand Rapids for a while to kind of develop. But it'll be interesting to see.
I want to see him have a real good year this year. That's what I'm hoping for.
It'll be great. I'm not sure we're going to get it, but I hope that we do. It would be nice. Like, I want to see him. I want to see the explosiveness come back. That'll be great. All right. That's all we got. Everybody, that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Nuggets. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on the way out. We'll be back on Sunday night after the Nuggets play their 3rd preseason game. Matt and I will go live then, and then we'll be back on normal schedule here at Locked On Nuggets.